OnlineTeamMatch002, and I'm here to update with my video blog on the team match between Army of Brotherhood and my video lessons group. And the match is just less than 12 hours old, and we have our first result. And I'm going to scroll down here, and we'll find it down here near the bottom board. Okay, what's happened here? Let's bring the game up, and then we're going to talk about this. Okay, let me get the analysis board. And is this the right game? Yeah, this is the right game. Okay, now I'm not going to start talking about it yet. Well, here I'll just a couple moves. Okay, we've seen these moves 100 times, right? Alpine Sicilian, I suppose. Game's pretty even, and I'm going to stop just a moment here, and we'll start talking chess in just a moment. Okay, this match is 12 hours old. Now, one thing my video lessons course teaches is you can develop your analytical skills by playing postal chess. And actually, when I made video lessons number 1, it was before I became active at chess.com, and I was advocating playing chess by postcard. You see, this is the way I did it back in the old days. And there's not too much chess played on postcard anymore because of technology at our disposal. And a lot of this is related to my other blog series, How the Internet Has Changed Chess. That's a 7-part series I won't bore you with, but it's pretty informative. If you want to improve your game, you should go hunt it down in my blogs and read it. But essentially what the Internet has done, it's sped the game up. Now this is okay in some respects, but in other respects it's not going to improve your game if you're moving quick. Now in the old day with a postcard, you wrote the move down, put it in the mail. Probably take 3. If your opponent lived in the same country as you, you'd be lucky if it'd get there in 3 days. Then they'd have to. They would look at their move, fill out a reply, mail it back. 7 to 10 days later, you'd get a reply. And a lot of people today look at this and say, "God, how could you live like that? Having those games take months and months and months, or even years." Well, it's easy. That was the only way to do things back then. You know, the internet, to a large degree, has spoiled everybody. And everything's happening fast. But I've seen a lot of posts. A lot of people are under the misconception that online chess is a replacement for over-the-board chess. If your opponent happens to be online, you can sit there and keep moving as long as he's online. And when he stops, or you decide to leave first because you're tired of waiting for him, you resume next time you come back. Well, if you want to play that way, that's fine. But if you want to get better at chess, you take your time. The opening is where you look up the variations and pick out which ones you want, which variations suit you. And then you conduct your middle game strategy. You look up the ending. If you reach an ending, what's the way to proceed? It's a great learning tool. But you lose all that if you blitz your moves, and you're not helping your team. So both sides, in effect, are not helping their team here. They're both playing correct. They're both guilty. Okay, let's take a look. See what happens now. Now, how is this book? Oh, it's probably been played before, but I'm not going to try to look it up. That's up to the players. Right now, what we can comment just briefly about this move B5. What Black needs to do first is develop his pieces. Okay, this formation is fine. It could the pawns on E6 and A6 control the D5 and B5 squares, so White can't necessarily put a knight on either one of them. The Black queen can go to C7, and she's quite safe there. But what Black needs to do is develop. Okay, that's the critical thing. Black needs to get castled. Knight F6. Well, what about E5? I don't know. Maybe you got to stop and play D6 first. But Black should have a quite safe and solid game. It's too early to counterattack. So B5. A lot of times this is played with the idea of undermining the knight on C3. So this knight on G8, which should be on F6, will be able to capture this pawn on E4. So this is just a little premature. And now White thrusts forward in the center. And now look at this. The knight is trapped. The knight has no retreat. Now player 1471 should be able to see that putting the piece on that square it's booby trapped. And the reason Black didn't see this is because Black didn't analyze the position. So let's back up a little bit, and we'll talk about what we call candidate moves. Okay, candidate move is in effect a candidate that you're going a candidate for your selection to play. In other words, what are possible candidate moves for black in this position? D6, knight f6, b5 was a candidate move. Black could even consider d5, although I don't necessarily think it's the best move. But each one of these is a candidate move, and when you're analyzing, you stop and say, well, okay, if I play knight f6, what does he do? Well, he might play e5. Where do I put my knight? Gosh, I might have to put it back on g8, or is it going to, if I put it on d5, he could double my pawns. If I put it on g4, he might play h6, and the only flight square's knight is putting the knight back on h6, and he doubles up my pawns. No, I don't want to play knight f6. Okay, and d5, you can say, well, pawn takes, pawn takes. I've opened up the diagonal for my bishop on c8 to come out. Maybe that's acceptable. So d5 is a potential candidate move. It does tend to isolate both the queen pawns on white and black. Okay, so what else? Okay, so b5. Did white or black consider this pawn push? Now we've got to consider where the knight can move. A knight normally if it's in this position, normally has 8 squares. Well, there's only 7 of them because d8's covered. It's natural not to want to put the knight back on b8, okay, because that's where it came from, and then it doesn't have a place to go. Okay, a7 doesn't really have a place to go there. E7, well, that blocks the bishop in. E5 drops it. D4 drops it. So it kind of leaves a choice of capturing this pawn, and then white has a space advantage, or putting the knight on A5. Because when you put it on B4 without any thought, you have to consider where is this knight going next, and white simply traps it. So black has just lost a piece because he didn't take his time. And here, I remind you, I'm scrolling the mouse here. Time, 1 move per 5 days. Okay? Case closed. You've got to take your time. So black jettisons the knight for what he can get for it. He got a pawn, but black now has a lost game. And white continues to develop. And suddenly another pawn goes, and black's down a piece and decides to call it a game. So good game for Mr. E. Corey, and bad game for Mr. Talfan 1. So let's go back to the match page and have a look here. Okay, we'll see what else we can do with this before I call this video complete. I'm not sure how many games I'm going to do. Technically, there's 412 games. Well, come on. Well, maybe I hit back arrow, nothing happened. I'll just hit the match. Okay, now I don't want any comments. I'll look at those later. Okay, so I'm ignoring my comments. Let's okay, come on, refresh. All right. See, it's not moving. I've got lag. Okay, well, it happens every now and then. Ignore. There it goes. Okay, let's try to scroll down. There, it's going to let me. Oh, wow. This is moving kind of slow. There we go. Now let's see if there's been any other results in. So I said there's 412 games. How many am I going to do videos for? I don't know. Well, the match is still 1-0. But let's just kind of look. Okay, first move. Okay, this one's going kind of quick. Looks like about 10 moves have been played. Just started. Okay, now let's see. Oh, that's the same one we just looked at. Since this one had moved quick, let's look at the other one. Uh-oh, look, there's look at this knight check down there. I don't know who's white and who's black. I guess he captured a bishop. Okay, so black's not losing a knight. Okay, so let's move up the board a little bit. See, some of these we don't have a move yet because it's New Year's Day. A lot of people are doing other things today. But I suspect in the coming days, once people return from their little respites, that I'm going to find a whole bunch of games here on Move 20 and 25. I've been trying to educate people to slow down, and that's my goal. The Internet has changed chess in a lot of ways for the worse because it's sped it up. And it's your generation that's going to influence the next one. And that's why I say it's bad news that the people are moving quickly. So so far, I know there's a few games that had some progression in them, but for the most part, well, that one's gone a few moves. Still looks like book theory. For the most part, these games have are just going normal. But I know there's a couple I've looked at these before. A couple of them have popped up where they seem to be 10 moves deep. We got a long way to go. I mean, uh, I'm probably not going to make another video until we get another result or two. I don't want to have to rehash myself. I'm experienced making videos, and I know one thing because I've done so many games analysis videos. Here's one that's moved kind of quick. Looks about 6-7 moves per probably book. The other game about the same. Maybe there's some additional moves flying, but like I say, I've made countless videos of games played by members, mostly over the board games, like over at ICC in their Team 45 league. I've made maybe 170 of them. And I can attest, the number one reason people lose games is because they move too quick. I mean, I have people starting, they play the game and they end up with more time on their clock than they started with. And, a true game of chess, if you're playing in a tournament condition face to face, should last 3 to 5 hours. If you don't like it, chess isn't for you. But the fast time controls that they've introduced, as if, oh my God, we got to get this game over. You're not going to sit there and play your best game. So my World Standard Time Control group, we offer a time control of 90-30. Of course, you can play any time control. We prefer you play 90-30 because that will simulate tournament conditions. Okay, these guys are going kind of quick, but the game's just a brief look kind of equal, just off the top of my head. So there's not going to be any major changes in a lot of these positions unless a lot of these people play quick. Okay, but anyway, the number one reason people lose games is because they move too quick, and we just saw an example here in Telfan's game. He moved too quick. So I'll again reiterate, the internet has changed chess, and it has made it for the worse. The internet, you can play a slow game that'll last 3 to 5 hours if you play a time control of 90 and 30. As popular as it is, 45-45 is not an ideal time control. It was originally a 60-60 time control in the 60-60 league over an ICC, and a bunch of amateurs who ran that butchered it. They took it from the creator, who had a 60-60 league, and changed it to 45-45 in order to get more time zones involved. But all your major weekend tournaments in the United States that offer decent cash prizes run time controls like 40 moves in 2 hours and sudden death in an hour, which will get your game over in no more than 6 hours. But most of them don't go that long. But a good majority of your games will go close to the first time control, and like I say, 3 to 5 hours is a normal time for a good game of chess. And 90-30 has an e-time of 220 minutes, or just short of 4 hours. So that's your ideal time control to play, and you can get a game whenever you want in my World Standard Time Control group. Arrange it with a player in there, post on the wall, post a seek, find somebody, you'll get a game. And you play it when you want to play it. You don't have to stop and go through messy player negotiations, which can get very, which exist, but I don't think it's the best system. The goal is eventually to get chess.com to automate these things running every hour, and they can do it. But we've got to prove to them that there's a demand for standard time control chess, and it's going to happen. Anyway, get off my soapbox here. I'm going to stop this video and get it uploaded, and I look forward to making another one. Take care.